Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you.
I have a couple of awkward moments to share with you that honestly I've been sitting on for a few days just because I sort of needed to fill them out and see if I still felt awkward about them days later. And yeah, they keep coming back to my mind, so you're going to get to hear about them. I was doing a tour not too long ago, a couple days ago, that most of the group was very friendly, but there was just this one couple that, I don't know. They were really awkward. I don't know how else to describe it. And, I don't think they meant any harm by it, but they just kept saying things that I was like, do you know how that sounds? And it started because we were starting in right outside of Congo Square, and there are drum circles in Congo Square most Sundays. And these are traditional drum circles. They have African style rhythm. It's lovely. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful backdrop to a story. And also, it's fun to listen to. But after I finished the first story and was walking us to the next location, the guy sort of pulled me off to the side. And at least he did pull me off to the side, so the rest of the group may not have heard him. But he was like, so these drum circles. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why do they keep playing the same thing over and over and over again? And I was like, they aren't. There's different rhythms happening, but it's music that's based in rhythm and repetition. And he was like, well, wouldn't it be better if they just played different songs? And I'm like, okay, dude. But luckily, I then got to start the next story, so I had a very good excuse to just be like, moving on, different topic. And then the third stop of the tour, I was talking about Marie Laveau, and I had explained that she was a woman of mixed race. And at the very end of the story, I usually finish that story with talking about, if you don't respect her for being a powerful religious and magical figure, you should at least respect her for being a woman who was born into a very difficult position, being a woman of mixed race in the 1800s, and who became such an important and powerful figure. And the guy's wife raises her hand and in front of the entire group says, yeah, but she wasn't black, was she? And I was like, she was mixed race. And the woman was like, yeah, but that's not black, so it's not as bad. And I'm like, oh my god, did you really just, and I sort of paused and froze and tried to explain to her the whole one drop policy that, yeah, no, if you had one drop of black blood, you were counted as a black person. And she was like, yeah, but I've heard that she could pass for white, so she was fine. I'm like, no, every record we know shows that she was obviously a person of color. She did not pass for white, and also even people who were passing for white were sometimes enslaved. It literally just had to do with who your parents were. And the woman was still being sort of dismissive about it, and I was just like, this is awkward, and I don't think she's meaning it racistly, but it is coming across that way. But the third awkward moment was fully me. It was just me being a weirdo. So it was pouring down rain, and I wore the wrong shoes that day. I wore sneakers and socks, and I know better than that. When it's raining, I generally prefer to wear either sandals if it's warm enough, or my actual rain boots, which will prevent my feet from getting too wet. But I like sandals because it dries out really quickly. But this particular day, we'd been walking through rain, and it mostly stopped, and I was talking to some of my guests about, oh yeah, I wore the wrong shoes, my feet are utterly soaked, and they'll be soaked all night. And one of the guests was like, yeah, me too. And I just casually said, but I mean, it's fine. It's not like anyone ever died of wet feet. And we both sort of froze and got really quiet for a minute as I could, it was one of those moments that obviously we were both thinking the exact same thing. And finally I broke the silence and said, actually, yeah, I'm wrong about that. A lot of people have died of wet feet. Yeah, that's what trench foot is. That happens. And I corrected myself to be like, yeah, but nobody has ever died of wet feet in 2 hours? And the guest was like, I think that's right. And I'm like, me too. But yeah, so just, I'm an awkward person. Tours are awkward things. People are awkward. Everything is awkward. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out my book, Drunks of the French Quarter Theater, available on Amazon, bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, pretty much wherever.